I married the woman I loved without telling her one secret. I quietly owned a large share of the very company where her father proudly served as a director. I never wanted money to decide how people treated me. I wanted to know who truly respected me when they believed I was just an ordinary man, so I stayed silent. For years, my wife introduced me as a simple man with an average job. Her parents smiled in public, but never missed a chance to remind me I wasn't good enough for their daughter. I accepted every insult, because I believed character is revealed when no one expects a reward. Then one family dinner changed everything. Her father slowly pushed a sealed envelope across the table and said, "Sign it now. My daughter deserves someone better." He thought I'd quietly leave. He had no idea whose signature actually controlled the future of his company. The first time I met my wife, Emma, she never asked how much I earned. She laughed at my jokes. She respected my opinions. She believed in kindness instead of wealth. That was exactly why I fell in love with her. Before meeting her, I'd invested my savings into a manufacturing company with an old friend. We built the business from the ground up. I never wanted public attention. My partner became the public face, while I stayed the silent partner. He ran operations. I focused on long-term investments and strategy behind the scenes. Years later, the company was worth millions. Around the same time, Emma took an executive position at that same company. She never knew I owned a major percentage. Even her father, Richard, who proudly called himself a director, believed the silent partner was some anonymous investor living overseas. I kept my identity secret because I wanted a normal life. After we married, everything changed. Every family gathering became another chance for Richard to compare me to wealthy businessmen. He'd ask about my small car. He'd laugh about my simple clothes. He'd tell relatives that Emma could have married someone successful. Emma loved me, but slowly her parents' opinions started getting to her. She began asking why I never chased promotions, why I seemed satisfied with a quiet life. I always gave the same answer: peace is worth more than pride. She never understood. Months passed. One evening, Richard invited us to a special family dinner, everyone dressed formally. The table looked different: crystal glasses, expensive wine, serious faces. Something felt wrong. Halfway through dinner, Richard cleared his throat and looked straight at me. "Our family has discussed your future." My wife looked nervous but stayed silent. Richard reached into his briefcase and slid a thick envelope across the table. Inside, divorce papers and a check. "Take this money, walk away quietly. My daughter deserves a better husband." The room went silent. My wife lowered her eyes without a word. That silence hurt more than every insult I'd ever swallowed. I closed the envelope slowly. Instead of arguing, I smiled and asked one question. "Are you absolutely certain this is what your family wants?" Richard nodded, proud. "Absolutely." I stood, thanked everyone for dinner, and walked away without signing anything. The next morning, I arrived early at company headquarters, entering through a private executive entrance few employees even knew existed. The board members greeted me with respect. Within the hour, an emergency board meeting began. Richard walked in confidently. The moment he saw me sitting beside the chairman, his smile disappeared. The chairman welcomed everyone, then made an announcement before any business began. "Today, we officially introduce our founding silent partner, who has guided this company since the beginning. Please welcome Mr. Marcus Carter." The room froze. Richard turned completely pale. Someone whispered, "Impossible." The chairman continued. "Every major expansion, every acquisition, every investment decision approved in the last decade carried Marcus's final signature." Richard could barely breathe. The ordinary man he'd humiliated for years was one of the actual owners of the company. After the meeting, he rushed toward me. "Marcus, please, there's been a misunderstanding." I said calmly, "No, Richard, there's only been truth. You simply never cared enough to discover it." That afternoon, Emma called me over 20 times. I finally answered. She was crying. "Why did you never tell me?" "Because I wanted someone to love me before loving my success." Silence filled the line. The next evening, Richard showed up outside my home with another envelope. This one, an apology letter. He admitted he judged me by my appearance instead of my character. He asked me not to remove him from the company. I looked at the letter and remembered every insult, every dinner, every moment he treated me like I had no value. I told him something he wouldn't forget. Respect cannot be purchased after it's already been destroyed. A week later, the board announced a leadership restructuring. Richard stayed employed but lost several executive privileges. The board believed leadership required integrity, not arrogance. I never asked for revenge. The company simply protected its own values. Emma asked if we could rebuild our marriage. I agreed to counseling, because relationships deserve honest effort when both people accept responsibility. She admitted letting her parents' influence guide her had been the biggest mistake of her life. Healing was slow. Trust returned one conversation at a time. Months later, we attended another family dinner. This time, nobody mentioned money. Nobody compared careers. Nobody judged clothes. For the first time, everyone listened before speaking. Richard stood and publicly apologized in front of the whole family, admitting the richest person at the table had always been the one who demanded the least attention. I smiled not because I'd won, but because the truth had finally spoken louder than pride. That night, I understood something. People who judge your value by your wallet will never recognize your character until life forces them to. Never hide your kindness, never chase approval, and never forget that real wealth reveals itself through humility long before it shows up in a bank account. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't proving people wrong, it's refusing to become like them.